Hello and welcome. Episode 8 of the Don't Be Boring podcast. As always, I am Hezekiah.
And I'm Tyler.
And today, our second cast of the new year, we wanted to, along with just getting back to making regular content twice a week, we wanted to talk this time about a little bit about cause and effect. So Tyler and I will both talk about that a little bit differently, and kind of how that phrase or the mindset that we're talking about kind of hits your ear. One may play a little bit differently to you, but in general speaking, just the kind of cause and effect of different influences, both internally and externally, how they affect you and your decision making, and as we talked about in the last one, as the New Year's resolutions and everyone's goals are coming in, how we stay on track despite some road bumps along the way. So, Tyler, I know you had a pretty good starting point when we were talking offline.
Yeah, I my New Year's resolution. I kind of had two actually that I'm really focusing on this year. One is reading 2 books a month, and the other is getting back to pledgeship level physical fitness, which is freshman year, pre everything that happens in college. So trying to work hard for both of those. But as it happens, from my hope to read 2 books a month, I'm reading Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and I you know there's been a lot of really good things that I've gotten from that book. But just yesterday, I had one that just really hit me, and I liked it, and I wanted to repeat it for everybody. And it's, one of the things that makes us distinctively human is the fact that we can take a stimuli and a response and separate the two. Whereas, an animal responds to a certain stimuli with the same response, and it's just kind of cause and effect, no middle ground.
Right, kind of like Pavlov's dog. You hear the bell, your mouth starts to water. It's an instinctual and animal quality.
Exactly. So that the thing that makes us distinctively human is that self-awareness to know and better understand yourself, to know how you traditionally would respond to certain stimuli, and kind of catch yourself, put in a third point or a midpoint between the stimuli and the response, and kind of say, how would I traditionally respond to this? How should I respond to this? And I've had a couple of, in the last week or so, I've had a couple of just instances with that really, I think that before I thought deeply about that, I would have responded instinctively as opposed to logically. And I think that is an important thing to factor into how you think about your New Year's resolution, how you think about your goal setting, how you make plans move forward. Think about how you would respond to any sort of situation, and what you could do better. Kind of use this opportunity, use January when you got cabin fever, it's cold outside, kind of use that time to think about how you traditionally have responded to some instances in the past, something you did in 2018 that you're like, man, I wish I had done that differently, and kind of get yourself to pause and think before you act.
Definitely, and I think, like you said, one of the biggest takeaways would be reflection, right? Um, there's numerous quotes on this topic or this idea of how you take an input or a cause and what your effect is, right? Everyone can probably remember that Rocky scene. It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's, that kind of mentality of it's about what you do in that situation. How many times can you get knocked down and get back up?
I literally watched that video. Like, I hate cardio. I watch that video every morning so that I'll actually go running, because it works every time. It's not a matter of how many times you get hit. It's a matter of how many times you can get back up. Sorry.
Proud of you.
I think I just misquoted it.
Yeah, no, you did, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. I don't think the specific actual words are what's important. I think it's the message, right? And the message being, you're, like you said, you're in control of how you take a stimuli or a reaction. So for me recently this week at work, we run into a lot of obstacles, with whether it be the conveyor system going down for several hours and having to palletize and walk boxes across the entire building as opposed to letting the system do their job. in those kind of opportunities, you can either get frustrated, get mad, and feel some type of way about it, or you can say, good, good. The way that I joke about it is I say, hey, sounds like an opportunity for greatness. Um, and much to my peers' dismay, I say that quite often. So it's one of those things of you're truly in control of how you react to every situation, and you can either look at it as an obstacle, a setback, or an opportunity for greatness. Yeah, we still ran right, and the line was down for an hour, so not sure why you guys can't do it when your line's all the way up, but that's just me.
It's funny you say that because I just, I have a similar ideology where it's we don't have problems, we have opportunities to improve, and
There you
it
go.
goes with the statement, if it ain't broken, if it's broken, fix it. If it ain't broken, improve it. So
There you
yeah.
go. That's an improved version of the slogan I grew up with, which is "If it ain't broken, it ain't ours." So.
I like that one too. That's good.
Oh man, along with "Don't touch it if it isn't yours, don't touch it," and if it ain't broken, it probably ain't ours. So,
And there's some good statements from
um,
childhood that you gotta always stay with.
they're just gems, man. But kind of in an update, very much like you, and I know you just finished the 7 Habits, so you finished your first book of the year. I finished my first book of the year as well, so we're both, what is it, 7 days in?
Yeah, I'm almost finished with
And
the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. I'm sorry, it's the 7 Habits that
it's
I'm
okay.
still ways from. So, my bad.
Gotcha. But either way, finishing the first book, so 7 days in, already making good progress to the goal of 2 books a month. I think I'm going to try and up mine to 3 if I keep reading at this pace. But finished. Let's explore diabetes with owls, and now I'm on to making friends, or how to make friends and influence people. Rereading that, which is a classic. And then I'm also going to read. It's called The Devil's Arithmetic. It's a book about the Holocaust from the perspective of a little girl that was in it. So for me, I think that kind of, like you said, that kind of book for me speaks volumes. I like to take stimuli that for in any other situation in life, or like actually being in that situation in life, would be life ruining, or like would be very stressful, or would be bad. So I'll often watch videos of like high school fights and stuff like that, like people doing stupid things, or read tragic stories, and I always enjoy them because it helps me keep my own life in perspective, right? So hey, if they can come out of something so terrible as this, or something so terrible as this situation, and find something positive, or to be able to tell a story or a positive narrative from it, then I can surely make a positive narrative out of being a moderately successful, happy young white male in the 20th, like 21st century. So, it for me is very much in the same line of how do you make the best out of your current situation? How do you take the surroundings or the inputs around you and make them into positive outputs? Lately, what I've been trying to do at home doing that is when Ezra gets frustrated, like as you guys have probably heard in the background of previous casts, my son is about 2 years old. He's not quite into the terrible twos, but he has some moments where he gets frustrated. And for me, as a person who's traditionally calm and even tempered, how do I take those moments of where it could be frustrating, and try and really figure out with somebody who's can't really communicate, how to get him to calm down, or to be able to understand what he's experiencing, and then how to kind of work your way through it. It's weird to talk in a podcast about this, about how to handle yourself and how to handle your emotions, and then try to educate somebody who can't really speak. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things of like it's a skill we often take for granted, and everyone's life being a little bit different. Everyone goes through different things, but it's not the journey that you go through. It's how you handle that journey once you get to where you're going, and kind of the stories that you tell about that trip, or what you've been through, and kind of how it shapes you as an individual. I think it's very important to be able to, like you said, stop, think, reflect on what is going on, what is being input to you, or what are you feeling right now before you make a reaction or a thought or a statement.
I like that. Hey, that's perfect. Well, I'm excited. We've got actually in the next week and a half. We're going to have actually a couple of interviews lined up. We'll actually have a buddy of mine in the next week or so talking about he's trying to move and get bigger in the esports scene as part of his New Year's resolution. So I'll be talking to him about that, and then we'll be talking to our buddy Sky King in the next week and a half too. So a lot of fun things coming up. Just getting some more voices, getting some new perspectives on the podcast. Just because I think there are a lot of people out here learning and not being boring in a bunch of different ways, and I think it's hearing all those voices is going to be good. So again, hey, happy New Year, everybody! Thanks again for listening in to episode 8, and that's what I got for the day.
Excellent. Keep rocking, be smart, be safe, and as always,
Don't be
don't be
boring.
boring.